The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has successfully converted 56,872 voting points and voting points settlement to polling units, increasing the number of polling units from 119,974 to 176,846 in Nigeria. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood disclosed this on Wednesday at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja. Professor Yakub said, Commission has also relocated 749 polling units from inappropriate locations made up of royal palace, private property, mosques, churches, and shrine to appropriate public facility.
The history of creating and expanding polling units in Nigeria has been long and complex. Their adequacy and accessibility in terms of number and location across the country were some of the challenges that had to be addressed in the interest of credible elections. Before 2010, the Commission operated on a round figure of approximately 120,000 polling units. However, a census undertaken by the Commission before the 2011 general election arrived at the precise figure of 119,973 polling units. The Commission also made efforts to relocate many polling units from inappropriate locations, such as private residences and properties, palaces of traditional rulers, and places of worship, to public buildings accessible to voters, polling agents, observers, and the media during elections. Following several unsuccessful attempts to create additional polling units, despite the obvious pressure from increased number of registered voters, the Commission established the voting points and voting point settlements across the states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory as a pragmatic response to necessity. The voting points were tied to the existing polling units and voting point settlements. The number of registered voters in a polling unit and the voting point settlement in the FCT was used to determine their voting points based on the upper threshold of 500, a lower threshold of 700 voters respectively. There were also limits used. These were also the limits used for the 2019 general election. The number of new polling units in a state is the number of voting points aggregated from these polling units, particularly those having voting points. Furthermore, it was discovered that one polling unit in Lagos State had been wrongly categorized as a voting point, and the error was corrected. With this adjustment, the actual number of approved polling units came to 119,974. As a result, the Commission arrived at the exact figure of 56,563 voting points, in addition to 309 voting point settlements in the FCT, making a total of 56,872 voting points. After wide-ranging consultations with stakeholders and fieldwork by our officials, the 56,872 voting points and voting point settlements were converted and added to the existing 119,974 polling units. Consequently, the Commission is glad to report that 25 years since the current polling units were created in 1996, the hard nut is finally and successfully cracked after several unsuccessful attempts. Nigeria now has 176,846 full-fledged polling units. Similarly, After consultation with stakeholders, the Commission has successfully removed 749 polling units from inappropriate locations to appropriate public facilities or open spaces in line with our policy to guarantee unencumbered access to polling units for all voters. Of this figure, 232 were removed from private properties, 145 royal palaces, 6 mosques, 21 churches, and 9 shrines.
Nathaniel Ofem, reporting for GTV Africa.